With more people than ever interested in citizenship by investment in the Caribbean as a fast, straightforward way to get a second passport in as little as several months, I'm hearing from a lot of people who are hearing marketing and mistruths about what the best opportunities are. And what I'm hearing is people who are overpaying when they don't have to. So today I'm going to walk you through some of the citizenship programs that we work with, and I'm specifically going to tell you which Caribbean citizenship program we have recommended the least in the last year. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. Here at Nomad Capitalist, our entire worldwide team, and yours truly, help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. Now, citizenship by investment, great way to get a second passport. We've seen a lot more people in the last year saying, I don't want to wait around. I'm willing to pay a bit more. Let me just do it quickly. And when it comes to quickly, when it comes to a bit more straightforward, when it comes to more affordably, the Caribbean is the place that most people look to for second citizenship by investment because you can get a passport in a matter of months. Now, you don't want to believe the claims of people who say you can get a passport in 2 months because what they're omitting is all the document collection, all the time that with some agents takes up to a year because they're so inefficient. What you don't want to fall for is the idea that by getting a citizenship in one country, you can have citizenship in 5 countries because they talk about CARICOM, right? So there's a lot of mistruths out there. But I went back with my team and we did a review of which programs we have had the most success with and which programs we've recommended the most over the course of the last year as this pandemic and all the chaos in the world has encouraged more people than ever to reach out to us and to do citizenship by investment. And what I found was one program in particular really lagged behind the rest, and that program was St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, I have no problem with St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm going to share with you some things that I think you should be aware of when looking at Caribbean citizenship. You've seen Les Khan, who's the president of the St. Kitts Citizenship by Investment Unit. We've interviewed him here on this channel. They've been very nice to us. We have a great relationship with people there in the government. And so I have nothing against St. Kitts, but what I want to help you understand is why in our company it has been recommended far less than other programs and what that can mean for you. And so one of the things that St. Kitts talks about is a platinum brand. Their program has been around since 1984, not exactly in the form that it is today, but it's been around for as long as I have. And so if you're looking for stability, you could argue that's definitely worth something. Now, what I would argue is you've got some newer programs, Dominica from the 1990s. Others have either been introduced or reintroduced in the last decade. So you've got Dominica, Grenada, Antigua, St. Lucia, which I've done. And to me, especially if you look at some of the islands where, in some cases, citizenship by investment is a very substantial part of their country's revenue, you know, to me, that gives you the same kind of stability as a long-running program, right? There's pros and cons to a long-running program. You could say a long-running program is well-known. You know, do I think it's going to be an issue in some cases? Generally not, but you know, certainly a well-known program could be a bit more of something you want to be aware of. But I definitely think that the platinum brand is something that you pay more for. And I think that they're pretty honest about that in St. Kitts, that they're basically trying to charge a higher price for a higher product. Now, here at Nomad Capitalist, you know, we operate in much the same way. We have a very done-for-you kind of service that is a premium service, and it's not for everybody. So I understand saying, we're going to offer a higher value, we're going to charge a higher price. What I look at, and as someone who's a personal consumer of this market as well as someone who works in the market, I don't see the justification as a single applicant. If I'm single, jumping up from $100,000 in other islands like St. Lucia or Dominica to St. Kitts and Nevis. And so what I've seen is in the crypto community, for example, a lot of people who have been talking about St. Kitts and Nevis, people have called me and said, oh, I'm doing it, and I ask them, okay, why are you doing that one? I want to see their thought process. Well, you know, I heard it was the best for crypto. In my opinion, Antigua as a country, probably a bit more responsive when it comes to crypto. Probably it's a bit more responsive as a government, a bit more open to crypto. You've got more crypto people there. We've helped people who are in the crypto industry go there, and they've been very happy with it. Not only getting the citizenship, but in some cases going down there and living. So I think Antigua beats out on that, and Antigua has a lower price point. When it comes to brand, I don't necessarily think that the brand of a passport is that much important. What I do think is tax policy, and what I do think is visa-free travel, as much as that's not as much of an issue now, given everything that's happening in the world. Those are the things that I would also look at. And so in those things, St. Kitts does relatively well. However, I then look at the fact that, let's go through the landscape. Single person, St. Lucia, Dominica, $100,000. Antigua, when you add up all the fees, $130,000, whether you're single or family of four. St. Kitts, $150,000 for a single, temporary deal to extend that for a family of four. Grenada, $150,000 for a single. So you can see how we work with singles and we work with families. You know, the Antigua program for a family of four often works well. If you're single, St. Lucia, Dominica, you can always add a spouse later potentially, save some money there. Even if you wanted to spend more for the better visa-free travel and the better tax policy, seeing that Antigua and St. Kitts have no personal income tax, Antigua still beats the price point. Now, Antigua does have the requirement to go and live there. There are a few things that are a little bit different. The back-end fees are a little bit higher than St. Kitts, so it's not like it's a huge difference. But to me, you know, when I talk to someone in crypto, when I talk to someone who wants responsive, I found that St. Kitts just doesn't quite measure up. What we have done St. Kitts for very successfully is really big families. We had like 7 and 8 people. Now, if you've got 6 people, you can go with Antigua. They have a university option. And so you can actually pay basically the same amount of money for 6 people in Antigua that you would in St. Kitts for 1, 2, 3, 4, and usually for 1. So St. Kitts has worked really well when we have big families where someone has the ability and they qualify to add a parent, a grandparent, I guess not grandparents, but a parent, you know, the kids, you know, big families, right? They have 3 kids and they're adding some parents, and that worked well, and it turned out to be a little bit cheaper, and it turned out to be a little bit faster. That's when we've recommended it. So it just hasn't really come up that much, because I think that you have 5 programs that are very competitive. The cheaper ones aren't quite as good in terms of travel. The tax policies aren't quite as flexible. But in that middle portion, you've got countries with good tax policies. And so, you know, I'm going to go with the country that's a bit more responsive, that's a bit more open, that I think offers probably a bit more opportunities. A bit more livable is another thing you want to consider. I think St. Kitts, people I know have gone there, they haven't really been impressed. I think Nevis is probably a nicer place to go. Very sleepy place, 10, 11,000 people. You know, John Cleese, as I know, lived there. But otherwise, you know, most people don't want to live on an island with 11,000 people. So these are all things that you have to think about. And it's for that reason that out of all the CBI, Citizenship by Investment projects we've taken on, St. Kitts has really only made it into those larger families. Does not mean I think it's a bad passport. Does not mean I think you should be embarrassed to have it. Does not mean I think if you do have it, or you're thinking of getting it, or you are getting it, that you've got a problem. There's no problem here. What I'm saying is there's so much marketing in this space. And I'm all for marketing, but I think it needs to be with the perspective of educating people. Here's the other thing. Maybe you already have a second passport. I have a gentleman recently where he qualifies for citizenship by descent in Europe. And it's going to take a couple of years to get that going, but he will almost certainly get it. You know, for him to get a cheaper passport, save his money, he's a crypto guy, so even an extra, you know, $35,000, he thinks he can put that in and turn it into a big sum. So there's an opportunity cost. He can do the cheapest citizenship by investment program, wait for that other passport, and now you've got the two together, right? Some people look at Caribbean citizenship, one of the cheaper ones, they pair that with Turkey, and now you've got a pretty powerful combination. And so I think the idea of trying to get one passport that solves all your problems in the Caribbean is certainly not a bad place to start. But I think there are other circumstances where you may want to consider. Listen, maybe you want to go and you want to be a citizen of St. Lucia or Antigua, whatever, save money versus St. Kitts, and then go and live somewhere else where eventually you'll be naturalized as a citizen. And then that citizenship can play in. So there's so many factors to consider that I think get glossed over. If you call someone who works with St. Kitts, of course they're going to sell you St. Kitts. If you call someone who works with 5 Caribbean islands, they're going to make you choose one of those islands. I want to make sure that you're getting all the passports and residences that you're entitled to, or that you should get. Build a portfolio. Don't rely on the Caribbean to do everything for you. Maybe you don't even need the Caribbean in some cases. There's some people who, you know, they're willing to wait a year or two to get citizenship by descent. They're willing to live somewhere and be naturalized. They save some money. So these are the things you want to think about. But in the perspective of which citizenships we've recommended the most, generally, I'm towards the lower end of the spectrum, and generally I'm skipping over St. Kitts except for larger families. Nothing wrong with it, but that's been our actual experience in the last year. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.